Today we're going to talk about savings goals, how to make them, how to prioritize them, but most importantly, how to make sure that you don't have any big holes in your plan that you'll regret later. But first, I want to start with a personal story. I suspect that many of you might not have savings goals at all, because that's how I was when I was younger. I didn't have financial goals, partly because I didn't understand what was possible. I once heard somebody say that I needed $1 million to be able to retire. So I quickly did the math on how much I'd have to save each month to get to $1 million, and it was more than I made in a month. So I gave up immediately. I just assumed that I would never be able to retire. I just have to work until I died. So I didn't even consider it. I didn't think about it again. But that was because I did the math wrong. I didn't understand the power of investing or compound interest. I thought that I would have to save thousands of dollars every month to get there, but I didn't realize that money invested would grow and snowball over time. And I definitely didn't realize that for something like retirement, that's decades away, the compound interest itself would add up to way more than the money that I contributed personally. Compounding does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. I didn't know that. So I didn't have to save every dollar to get there. I just had to save enough to get the ball rolling and give it enough time to grow. I'm telling you this because I don't want this conversation to start from a place of doubt. You might think that your savings goals are impossible, but they're probably easier to reach than you think. So for this video, just for now, set aside the question of how to reach these goals, because we'll get there. But just allow yourself to really dream about what you'd like your life to look like without limiting yourself with doubt. This is not a math question, not for today. Today, the questions are, what are your values? What things make you happy? If you didn't have to work, how would you spend your time? And if you could build any life that you wanted, what would you choose? Because once you really understand the answers to those questions, you're going to know where your money needs to go to build that life for you. So please, get out a pen and piece of paper. We're going to brainstorm and dream big. We're going to imagine your perfect life. If you've got a partner, you can do this together and discuss. I think that's a great exercise. In my experience, big financial goals like this can be broken down into 7 different categories. The first category on the list is security. Think emergency fund. This means having enough cash on hand to cover unexpected expenses or short-term job loss. We'll talk about exactly how much you should save for this and where you should keep that money, so don't worry about the details yet. But for now, just think about the risks that you're most likely to face and how much those would cost you. Think job loss, injury, sickness, car repair, home maintenance, replacing a broken refrigerator, things like that. But take a second and write down the risks that come to mind that you might need to cover. And then think about how you would feel if you knew that you had the cash on hand to cover them. Would that make you feel a little bit less stressed in your day-to-day life? 2, reducing debt. Do you have credit card debt, student loans, maybe a car loan or a mortgage? One of your financial goals might be to pay some of those down. That can get rid of, those monthly payments, which can free up your income for other things instead and give you more breathing room in your budget. But it will also save you money on interest, especially if you're carrying high interest debt like credit cards. If you ever want to get motivated to pay off debt, look at your credit card statement and see how much they're charging you in interest each month. But take it one step further. Then do the math on how many hours you have to work at your job just to pay off that interest. That's before you ever start making progress actually paying the debt off. It's sucking your life away, like hours of your life. So on your sheet of paper, write down any debts that you have that are currently weighing you down and making you feel stressed and heavy. And really think about how you would feel if those were paid off. I'm guessing you'd feel a lot lighter. Number 3, freedom. A lot of people think of this as saving for retirement someday. But I'll make the case that this goal helps you now, too. Having enough so that you're totally financially independent means that working becomes optional. You can live off the income that your investments provide. But even if you love your job, I think this is a good goal to save for. That's the reason that I tend to call it freedom or financial independence, not just retirement. Because I don't ever plan to completely stop working. But I do want control over the type of work that I do and when I do it. And the only way to do that, to stop depending on a job, is to have investments making money for me instead. The thing that most people don't realize is that it's not all or nothing. It's not that you're either able to fully retire or not, and there's no benefit until you get all the way there. It's more like it gives you degrees of freedom. In other words, I don't need to have 100% of my retirement funded for this goal to benefit me. If I'm 30% of the way towards my retirement goal, I might not be able to fully retire, but I could handle an extended break from work. I could handle getting laid off. Every step closer to this goal brings me a little bit of relief from worry. I'm just a little bit less dependent on my job. And it gives me the freedom to quit a nightmare job and find something else instead, even if it pays less. It really, literally just gives you the freedom to make choices about how you spend your time. And so for this goal, I want you to imagine what your life would look like if you didn't have to work. Write down how you would spend your time. Would you do different work? Would you volunteer somewhere? Or would you write a novel or putz around in your garden? Really take some time here, because I think the answer to this question will really tell you some important things about who you are and what you value. Big purchases. Buying a house, funding a wedding, buying a new car, a lake house in the mountains, a new kayak. This category is where personal finance really starts to get personal, because I would argue that everyone needs an emergency fund. Everyone needs a plan to pay off debt if they have it. And everyone needs to save for retirement. Those are just non-negotiables. But here is where you can let your imagination start to run wild and dream a little bit about some goals that are specific to you. When you were a little kid, did you ever imagine your dream house? That's what we're doing here. Write down some big purchases that would make your life look more the way you want it to look. And think about how you'd feel once you have those things. Number 5, opportunities. The same way I had you dream big about your dream home and other purchasing goals, this category lets you dream big about life and how you want to spend your time. Would you ever want to start your own business? Buy an old house and start a bed and breakfast? Maybe buy some land and a bunch of yurts that you can rent out for glamping? Maybe you want to be prepared financially to move to a different city and start over, or switch jobs or switch careers. Maybe like me, you want to quit your corporate job and go back to school so that you can skill up for something more exciting. Whatever the dream may be, having some money in the bank will make it more achievable. If you have the dream now, that's great. You might be able to estimate costs and timelines and budget for it properly. But I actually advocate saving for this category even if you don't have the dream yet. Maybe especially if you don't have the dream yet. The point of this money is to be prepared for opportunities that might come your way. If your friend comes to you and says, I have a great idea for new business and I want you to be my partner and do it with me, this kind of money might make you feel more comfortable taking a chance on something that could be amazing, but definitely comes with some risks. If you didn't have this kind of opportunity fund saved up, you might just say no out of fear or out of necessity because you don't have the assets on hand to participate. You might feel like you need to stay at a corporate job for the health insurance or the steady paycheck. And so you might miss out. This kind of savings buys you the freedom to take risks, which can really change your life. In practice, this money in some ways might look indistinguishable from retirement savings, with one important difference: it has to be accessible. So instead of a traditional retirement account, which might have penalties for making early withdrawals, this might be money that's in a taxable brokerage account. You might be giving up some tax benefits, but you gain flexibility. That's why you might have heard me say in other videos that I have a fair amount of long-term investments that are just in a joint brokerage account. It might end up being for retirement someday, but it's here for potential opportunities that come up today too. It's flexible. So for this one, write down any dreams that you might have. What would your dream job be if you had the money to take the risk? Or is there a business that you've dreamed of starting? Or maybe there's a dream city that you'd want to live in. Whatever it is, write it down and just think about how you'd feel if you knew that you had the savings to be able to take that chance. And once again, if you don't have any specific dreams right now, or if you're already working in your dream field, that's okay. You can just think about how you'd feel having the funds in case something came up and you could take that opportunity. Number 6, giving. Not all financial goals are just for yourself. You might have a favorite charity that you like to donate to, or you might want to have money available to take care of your friends or family if the need arises. You might want to save for your kids' college or help them buy a house someday. You might just want to have a savings account specifically for gifts so that weddings never break your budget. You could have any number of goals that are outward focused and generous. This one is also going to be very personal. Who you want to be generous to will probably be different than mine. But I think this is an important category to prioritize, because I think that being kind to other people is a muscle that needs to be exercised. And I think that you'll like who you are more when you build that part of yourself. I think that's especially true when giving to people outside of your own friends and family, people who can never do anything to pay you back, So write down some charities that you want to give to, or causes that matter to you, or people that you want to be able to help. And think about what it would feel like to be a person who is doing things to help make the world a better place. Number 7, fun. This is a category that I think a lot of money discussions sadly overlook. The purpose of money is to build a full and vibrant life. So while it's important for money to protect your security and provide freedom, it's also important to not neglect having hobbies and travel and new experiences. So we're going to talk about this in depth. I think it's really important to prioritize hobbies in your life. I once heard a framework that you should have 3 hobbies. One that keeps you active and healthy, one that keeps you creative, and one that makes you money. I'm not sure I fully agree, but I think it's a cool starting point. And if I was going to edit it a little bit, which I am, I would take out the hobby that makes you money and swap it out for ones that make you more empathetic and that build relationships. That's because I don't really agree that making money should be a hobby. I mean, that's what your job is. And your investing should be so automatic and boring that it doesn't count as a hobby at all. So with these tweaks that I would suggest, we're left with hobbies that keep you creative, active, empathetic, and social. So one hobby that keeps you active. For me and my wife, this means we go hiking, we pay for a rock climbing gym, and we're part of a bar league volleyball team. We found that for us, working out has to be fun or we don't do it. But your activities might look different. As for staying creative, I've always been a musician and a photographer for most of my life, so my interests naturally fill this void. But it might look different for you. You might need to sign up for classes somewhere, or you might just draw in a sketchbook or write or take a cooking class or try to paint along with Bob Ross videos. It doesn't matter if it's any good. It just has to be something that flexes that creativity muscle. Now, for staying empathetic, I mean any activity that involves actively stepping into someone else's shoes for a few hours and seeing the world from their perspective. So I think reading, theater, opera, good movies and TV shows, travel, all of these things can help your empathy grow. And I think that that is just critical for being a good human being. Now, for staying social, that could be things like a recurring trivia night or a board game night or bowling league, or it could overlap with some of your other hobbies, like playing music with friends or joining that bar volleyball league like we did. Having deep connections with other people is one of the most important parts of a full and satisfying and happy life. So if you need to spend money here, it's worth it. Build that into your budget. The point I'm making about all of this is that these activities aren't just expenses. They're not frivolous spending. They are a critical part of building a full life and growing as a human. So when you list these out, hopefully it removes some of the guilt around budgeting for them. It's easy to think, oh, I spend $30 every time I go to trivia night with my friends. Maybe I should cut that out so I can be practical and pay down debt instead. Maybe, but maybe that trivia night is the pillar of your whole social life. And it's the only time you see your friends, and it's very important for your well-being. If that's the case, that would be a huge mistake to cut there. So only you know your situation. But think about the things that you do that make you profoundly happy or at peace or connected to other people. Make a list of these hobbies and activities that you want to spend more time on. These are going to be a critical part of your life. So when you're making financial priorities, you want to make sure that they are included and prioritized, because you can't build the life that you want to without them. Okay, so security, debt, freedom, big purchases, opportunity, giving, and fun. Those are my 7 categories. What do you think? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. But maybe you've been following along, taking your notes and making your list, and now you have a huge, complicated mess of different goals. What do you do with it? Well, what I would recommend is to take that list and try to reorganize it. Try to put it in order from the most important to you to the least important to you. Now, this is going to be difficult to do, but I think that part of the struggle of it is actually really good for you to really think through all of these steps. And I think you're going to notice some trends as you work through it. As you try to prioritize the list, I think some things are going to stand out to you as being really, really important to you. And some other things might be not so critical, let's say. And I think that's going to tell you some really important things about you and what things are going to be most important for the life that you're wanting to build. And so you'll know to prioritize those. I'm hoping that by the end of this process, you feel like you know yourself a little bit better and that you're starting to see a clear picture of what you want your life to look like. If so, stick around for the next few videos because we'll start putting those dreams into action steps. And in the meantime, if you have any questions that I haven't addressed, please send me an email or leave a comment so I can address it in future videos. And thanks for spending some time with me today. I still don't have a closing line. I still don't know how to end these things. I don't know. If you have an idea for what I should say at the end of these videos, drop it in the comments.